Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. With no rise in active cases in the region, state governments have perhaps got a breathing space to take a few steps to provide the much needed relief to workers, daily wage earners and those stranded within the state since the imposition of the lockdown. For instance, Assam today decided that intra-state or inter-district movement will be allowed from April 25th to 27th for a period of 3 days, but under strict MHA guidelines. Perhaps as more states become COVID-free in the Northeast, governments will become bolder and get on the job to bring the economy back on track. However, that still seems a distant move, and the question that arises is how Herculean a task it would be to restore the economy. But even before we look at things like that, the bigger challenge would be to, for instance, in Assam's case, to handle the current intra-state movement call smoothly and then, once the lockdown is over, allow a regulated entry of thousands stranded outside. This issue is also faced by all the other northeastern states because thousands of youths, workers, professionals are stranded at this moment across the country, and they would definitely want to come back home once the lockdown ends. Now, to take the discussion forward, I'll be joined from Shillong by John Thaba, General Secretary MEFA. From Imphal, I'll be joined by BJP spokesperson R.K. Somarjit. Avinav Borbora, political thinker, joins me from Guwahati. In course of the discussion, I'll also be joined by Chairman of the Assam Chamber of Commerce, Rupam Goswami, and Sriparna Barua of the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, Guwahati, will also join me in a short while. So, if I can go to John Thaba in Shillong first. John Thaba, well, what is Meghalaya's contingency plan to allow the entry of thousands or hundreds from the state who are stranded outside and may look to come back as soon as the lockdown ends? Is the state looking at a regulated entry? Is it preparing for that? Because not everybody can be put into institutional quarantine. A lot of people would have to be put into home quarantine, which means a lot of awareness has to be created. What we have seen in Meghalaya, in Shillong, since the first COVID-19 case was reported is that there has been a lot of stigma, skepticism. Of course, that has reduced now, but definitely people are apprehensive still. John Thaba.
The state government has already made it clear that it won't be bringing back the stranded people from Meghalaya who are stuck in other parts of the country. There are around 3,000 of them right now in different parts of India. And the government has already stated that it won't be allowing them to come for the time being. It has also provided financial assistance of 3,000 rupees each to these people to help them tide over the financial crisis that they may have been undergoing there in their respective places. So it looks like for the coming weeks, these people are not coming back home, and some of the family members also, they have already told that they are happy with the decision of the government. Although there's a sense of anxiety among these people, the stranded people. Some of them are students, some of them are professionals. They are they are also already restless right now. We can understand their feeling. But the government has already said that even if the lockdown is relaxed, so the entry of people from outside, including the stranded people, will not be allowed for the time being.
Well, but sooner than later it has to happen. Avinav Borbora, Assam government today decided that a 3-day window will be given for intra-state movement. Of course, it has made it very clear that the passes will be offered will be given rather by the respective deputy commissioners after they have examined the case. E-passes will be there, and it will be given on priority basis. Patients, migrant workers, stranded workers, those who are stranded outside their native village, town, and a lot of criteria is there. But how challenging, despite all this, do you think will this task be? And do you also think because the number of active cases has come down to 14, possibly that is the reason somehow the government could still, muster the courage of allowing this, which was much needed at the same time?
Hello, Nabarun. I hope all of you are doing good.
Thank you.
I think this decision from the government is very important, and I think it has been made at a time when the COVID-19 cases in the state have been subsiding for 7 days continuously now. As the honorable minister has also pointed out, that this entire process is not something that is free from risks, but I think this is a practical compulsion that the government faces, because as you recall, the lockdown was imposed quite abruptly, and as a result of that, many people were stranded in different places of the state. We remember the case of a person called Khogan Borwa, someone who was 80-year-old, who was forced to walk from Koliabor to Laluk, and I really do not think that his case is the only one. There are innumerable people who are stranded across the state, and in view of such a situation, I think the government had to take a decision to allow a certain passage, allow a certain degree of movement of people. Regarding the timing, I'll have to say is that it occurs to me, quite rightly so, that the government has made a cost-benefit analysis, and now that the wave and the number of cases have been continuously on the wane for 7 days, I think this is the right time that the government can allow a movement of people. I think it would obviously have its own challenges. I think the first challenge is successfully arranging for the conveyance of such a huge number of people as the government and other parties have estimated. And to give you a brief indication of the quantum of people who have been stranded. If you see, initially during the press conference, the honorable minister had provided 104 as the hotline through which they could actually enlist themselves for availing facilities of the ASTC. But just after a few hours, the minister was compelled to make another procedure so that it can handle the caseload of people who are applying for ASTC conveyance facilities. So I think there would be challenges simply because of the quantum of people who have to be transported to the different places. And I think the minister has acknowledged it during his press conference, because he has been very humble enough to admit that it might not be possible to transport all the people at one go. But I think it's a positive movement. It's a positive step that the government has made, and it's a very necessary step that the government has made, considering the fact that for a majority of the people in Assam, they had initially planned for a lockdown for 5 days. But then, as you could understand, that while people had planned and had made provisions for a 5-day lockout, the decision of the central government made it compulsory and extended the lockdown for 21 days. And as a result of that, there has been no movement whatsoever for a bulk of Assam's population. And as I have already said, I think this is an opportune time to at least allow a certain relaxation in terms of passage of people, because as you know, people need to get home, and even if you need to resume the functioning of the administration at some level, you have to allow passage of people.
Absolutely.
So
hard
that is
decision.
how I think.
Hard decision, but had to be taken. RK Samarjit, welcome to Bottom Line. there had been questions on the distribution of relief in the state of Manipur. Since then, the Chief Minister has launched the helpline service and also service delivery system of delivering essentials. How is the situation on ground as of now? There was a certain amount of restlessness that was there, a few days, a week ago. Do you think the government has been successfully able to contain that? And also, what is the forward planning as far as, although financial aid has been given to those from the state who are stranded outside, what is the long-term plan to get them in once the lockdown ends?
Mr. Goswami, first of all, I would like to thank the New Notice Life, and I got a privilege to say something on behalf of my government as well as a spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Manipur Pradesh. Today, I have a lucky day, and I went some part of the district along with some colleagues about the situation, ground reality. I will give you the ground reality. The Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur providing all the essential commodities of the farmer, including the diesels, and so many truck owners of the farmers are come out and take this diesel's oil so that they can plow the field when the monsoon is come at this stage. And today also raining happened in the middle of the afternoon, rain started. Apart from that, I am telling you, there are outsider or whatever you say outside of Manipur, the working class people from Bihar or some other part of the state were properly maintained and guideline under the provision of the Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur, particularly in the Imphal East and West. There are more than 3,000 workers who were stranded. However, we managed to provide them their essential commodities, foodings and all. And apart from that, the Senapati district, there are 850 laborers are there were providing by the deputy under the guidance of the deputy commissioner and some local clubs providing them items of foodings and water or whatever the sanitization of the masks, etc., etc., etc. And perhaps if we are trying to make a plan is that first of all we need to save those students and those people who are from our state right now stranded at Mumbai, either or in some part of Pune, Maharashtra, Delhi, Bangalore, Kolkata, perhaps Andhra Pradesh mainly because there are lots of nurses, students were there. We are trying to approach in a systematic way and providing them the funding rupees 2,000 to each. And I think 83% of the students were already get 2,000 rupees. Apart from that, certain organization or Sangathan people give them the facilities of their essential demands, and all those things are there. And I am telling you, in the sector, people were enthusiastically helped the helpline of the Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur, and more than 30 crores were providing from the people contribution to the Chief Minister. And we are targeting for these 5 days, we are trying to pull out somehow the fertilizer, the bees and other essential commodities from your state and from this Sri Rampur, so that 2 ways of the lifeline of Manipur, one is 39 and another one is 53. From there we are waiting eagerly to providing all those fertilizers and essential things. And apart from that, FCI's items also. And so far we are getting certain maximum essential things are still we get in our position. Therefore, there is no question of
R.K. Samarjit, at a time when Manipur is COVID-free, at least for now, and almost the entire contact tracing part is over, almost all the samples have been tested. Don't you think it is also time to for the government to also try and restore slowly but steadily some economic activity? Probably we can start with coming to the aid of the farmers. A lot of their produce is getting wasted. That is the scene across Northeast now. At least ensure that some strategy is devised whereby the local produce is able to reach the market. In that way, at least the farmers will be supported, and probably Manipur can afford to do that now, since there is no active COVID case in the state. Is the government considering any such step in the near future? Very quickly.
No, regarding in that matter, in our future, let us clarify myself. We cannot say that it is completely from corona, but we trying to approach in a systematic way to zero corona. I didn't say that free corona, but
Absolutely.
we are
Absolutely. We can't say
we are the
corona-free.
buffer zone
Absolutely.
of the Myanmar border. We are hectic this condition, and there are certain area where we are controlling almostly in the area of Myanmar, in between India and Myanmar. Certain migrants are come. We have news that they are come across trespassers are there. Therefore, we are preventing and help from the Assam Rifles, Indian armies, Manipur police, and other BSF also there. We are quite alert, but we are trying still. We want to zero corona virus, not free corona, but it may be happen anytime. Therefore, we are very, very active to not allow such a things in the state of Manipur, so that we might be a bit relieved. Today is the 29 days of lockdown, so we are waiting for 3rd of May. Maybe after that also we are facing. However, still in the state of Manipur, there is no such an unwanted crisis not happen in the state of Manipur, and therefore we are waiting only those items of the essential commodities of gas as well as petrols.
All right, so no steps, as of now. If I can go back to John Thaba. John Thaba, yes, Meghalaya has received fresh consignments of PPE kits, rapid testing kits, and the situation seems satisfactory as far as the COVID hospitals in Shillong are concerned. But the State Health Minister has himself admitted that the preparedness at the district level, at the PHCs, public health center, community health centers, may not be that satisfactory. In fact, the case in question was that in Sora, where only 15 PPE kits were available. So is it not high time to also focus on the district headquarters and smaller towns and other urban areas, because you never know where and when it hits? While entire focus in Shillong, as East Khasi Hills is a red zone, you never know how and when it spreads. So probably high time that Meghalaya has around 64,000 PPE kits in possession now. Let there be at least some sort of, if not, we cannot say equal distribution, but let there be distribution as per the need at least.
Meghalaya right now is not at all fully prepared as far as combating the spread of COVID-19 is concerned. We're talking about the availability of ventilators. The Health Minister himself had stated in the past that 9 out of 11 districts of the state do not have ventilators. This is a cause of concern, because if these district headquarters, the civil hospitals, I can say, in the district headquarters, they're not equipped with ventilators, then the preparation for fighting the virus is at stake. So also the state government has said that right now we have around 24,000 PPEs, but the actual requirement as projected by the health department itself is around 75,000. So we are short by by around
They have added some. They have added some today as
30
per
or
the latest.
40,000.
As per the latest updates.
They have
added some today as per the latest.
Yeah. But still, the question here is, that
If,
should
uh,
be available
The
even in
question
the
here is,
even in the district headquarters.
Yeah, the distribution itself is also important because the virus itself doesn't concentrate only in one place. It can spread to any other districts of the state. So if the hospitals there that are designated as the corona care centers are not equipped with PPEs, ventilators, and all this, so there is it's a matter of concern. So it has to be looked into by the government very seriously.
Absolutely.
So I think the finding by the minister himself yesterday at Sora, is an eye opener that we ought to become more alert and more prepared this time.
Vinod Barbara, well, probably why Assam has been able to handle it well is because it had prepared beforehand. Steps were being taken even before the first case was reported in the northeast, and now, as you can see, there is an air of ease. Even though the number of cases shot up to 34 at one point of time, there was no panic as such. There was no panic as such because the state knew that it was prepared. These many quarantine facilities were in place. These many COVID hospitals were functioning. The equipment was procured in a short notice. However, the big challenge now would be as and when the lockdown ends and then the over 2 lakh or at least thousands were stranded outside want to come. And you cannot have a strictly regulated entry. You cannot allow 500 or 600 or 1,000 people to come at one time because that will take a long time. Probably 5,000 people would want to enter at one time. Now, that is another big challenge that the state will be faced with, but probably it also cannot deny entry to those people. So, clearly, well, as of now, the number of active cases are 14, but still critical and difficult times ahead.
I think preparedness is the common denominator which goes on to explain Assam's relative success in successfully containing the first wave of the COVID-19 virus. And again, I think it's preparedness which explains the relative confidence that has been demonstrated by the health minister to allow a certain passage of movement, a certain relaxation of the lockdown rules. If you could see, Assam was, I think, one of the first states, and which was no mean achievement when a Blue Dart flight carrying equipment flew directly to Borjhar. And I think we'll have to speak to the credit of the administration. And now I think once a skeletal framework, at least a skeletal framework, has been put in place, the state can actually find itself in a certain threshold of preparedness by which it could slowly allow a staggered inflow of people and a staggered relaxation of the lockdown regulations. You should also understand that there were complaints that the number of testing was quite low, but over the last few days, testing has been steadily going up, and I think it would have gone up even higher had the ICMR not put a hold on the rapid antibody testing kits. But even in terms of ICU beds and ICU facilities, the availability of N95 masks, as the health minister has today briefed the public and the media, I think Assam has attained a certain basic threshold of preparedness. Regarding the second part of your apprehension, I think that is a very valid apprehension that you have raised, and I think the Congress leader, Mr. Gandhi, had also spoken about it, that lockdown, what is it? It is actually like a pause, and this is something that has been reiterated even by the WHO. And the moment we try to relax the lockdown norms, and there is a sudden inflow of people, obviously cases, it's highly possible that there would be a spike in cases. I think Kerala is a very appropriate case in point, whereby they considered themselves to be quite adequately prepared, that they did not adhere to the union ministry guidelines, and had a larger ambit of relaxations. But what did we see yesterday was that the state reported 19 fresh cases on the first day of the relaxation. So I think, like the Prime Minister has said, and like experts are saying, and which is extremely important, you cannot obviously expect that all the people would be allowed entry into the state in one go. I think it has to be a very staggered and a steady inflow of people, and I think the government is already in the process of preparing quarantine zones in the borders, which would also help in
Yeah,
regulating the
that's
flow of
that's a
people.
very limited part of it. The bigger question is that how staggered can the entry be? RK Somarjit, Manipur, unfortunately, at times has been known for its for differences between the hills and the valley, hills and the plains. But what positive things we have seen in the past few days, in the past weeks, is also that people in this time of crisis are coming out to help each other. For example, a village, an entire village in the hill districts, came out with its produce, with its vegetable produce, started distributing it to the neighboring villages for free. For the sake of humanity.
Absolutely.
These are challenging times, but these are also times probably we can use this opportunity to come together as a state, as citizens, residents of Manipur. What do you say? Positive stories that the government also should back, highlight. In fact, Chief Minister had also tweeted.
Latest information I am giving you, the Bishnupur district, certain the hilly brotherhoods, they coming with their cultivated vegetables and all the essential faunas and herbs, they bring from their native village to come down to the valley and providing all these things to the people of Bishnupur and distributed them as a brotherhood goodwill symbol. And in lieu of that, the valley people are providing them the hand sanitizers and essentials like salt and edible oils and medic, etc. Haven't seen since from yesterday and day before yesterday also, today also, tomorrow also. I have got information from their part, and they are mentioning that another 5 villages are also willing to come down to valley and providing their vegetables to the poor people as well as those affected area where in the valley, because in the valley there is such not huge amount of quantities of vegetable is not yet at the present moment. Therefore, we are helping each other. This is the goodwill symbol and the peace and the harmony people. Even though from the valley also in the Ukhrul district, we are sending certain items of onion and potatoes, tomatoes and oils and even the bread and other essential medics are also sending to the Ukhrul. Apart from that, the Ukhrul people also servicing their essential items and others which is very rarely found in the valley, but they are providing this service to us. Therefore, in the state of Manipur, apart from all the northeast region state, we are the only state where we brotherhood are peace loving people
need of the hour,
cooperate and providing all these things.
Yes,
you can see in the need of the hour is there. Therefore, you can see even in the social media what they are doing also. I am not saying and sitting with you and say like blah blah is not that. The truth is that lies on there, and you have seen these activities in the state of Manipur, and therefore we are saying that we are helping each other among the brotherhood. There is no question of mutavat, I mean up and down, these are not nothing in here. And in the meantime, I'm requesting through your channel that the fertilizers, the oil, these are the potential high time in the state of Manipur. So certain restriction might be there under the provision of the government of India, maybe in the part of the Assam government, but at least to relax and providing all these things, and within the short period of 48 hours, when we get it, it will be one of the best things so far as my concern. Mr.
Definitely,
Goswami.
definitely. Thank you so much, R.K. Somarjeet, for joining us on Bottom Line. Thank you so much for your time. We have to go for a short break here. John Thaba, Abhinav Borbora, hang on. We'll be joined by Sriparna Barua and Rupam Goswami on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Bottom Line. We're discussing the relaxation measures in place and how states are now beginning to take bold decisions to also repair the economy, as no more active cases have been reported in the Northeast in the last 2 days. To continue the discussion, I'm also being joined by Chairman of the Assam Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Rupam Goswami. Also joining me from Guwahati is Sriparna Barua of the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, Guwahati. Welcome, Rupam Goswami, Sriparna Barua. But I'll have to go to John Thaba in Shillong first. John Thaba, we were just discussing in Manipur, where farmers from a particular village and some villages have come out to distribute their produce for free. Instead of being wasted, they thought, why not give it to the neighboring villages who might require it. Now also, we do understand that East Khasi Hills is a red zone, but at the same time, there are reports that mobile vegetable vans are a big hit as far as Shillong is concerned. Can the government not take some steps to make it more popular, probably ensure that the farmers' produce do find a market to sell? That can be done and should be done under strict protocols, but probably we also need to simultaneously work on both economic measures and the measures taken health-wise.
As far as the issue of supplies of vegetables and other essential items, I am sad to say that the process of allowing the supply of these, especially vegetables, farmers' produce, has not started yet in Meghalaya, despite the announcement by the government that there will be some relaxation. Lots of farmers, they have also complained that they are not able to bring their produce to the market due to the curfew. And although the government said that it is encouraging the farmers to come forward and sell their produce, but in the real sense, nothing has happened so far. So much of these produce, have gone rotten, and there's also, inflation. The people in Shillong, especially, have complained that the prices of vegetables has gone up so big that it has become, like a rare commodity which you cannot afford. So this is a problem that the government has to look into. And but when you talk about the availability of rice and other essential items, say like dal and all, the process of distribution has already started. Although in some villages the quantity may not be as promised by the government, but it has started. But I hope the government will look into all these aspects, like farmers' produce and availability of stocks. These are the issues that must be looked into. Last few days, the government said that it has lifted the rice from the FCI under the open market system for distribution to the people. So we hope that this thing will also take place soon, because people
Absolutely.
are waiting. We cannot, because there's a fear among people.
Absolutely.
Fear among people that they may not die of the virus, but they may die of starvation. So if these issues are not looked into, it will be very, very sad.
Thank you so much, John Thaba, for joining us. Rupam Goswami, Chairman of the Assam Chamber of Commerce. What do you think are the primary challenges being faced in ensuring that there is no rise in the prices of essential commodities during this time of pandemic? Rupam Goswami.
The main challenges is the transportation, and government of India has very systematically has planned the transportation of all the essential goods. So that's why the stock is available, and there was no price rise and no price rise
And
right now
and
also.
and how to improve the supply chain? Yes, these times are challenging, but don't you think they also offer a window of opportunity to explore new ways of doing things and probably also improve on our service delivery system?
There is a vast scope in supply chain for the entrepreneurs. They can enter into as because we are maintaining a distance. So and we are under lockdown. So entrepreneur can find themselves as a like they can work like Swiggy and other Jamato type of supply chain. They can go with where they will get a new opportunities. Like previously, there was no system of home delivery in Assam. Even the essential commodities. So the entrepreneur can come into for this type of home delivery system, even the fish and chicken and every items.
Abhinav Borbora, surely, there is a problem, and as accepted even by the Food and Civil Supplies Minister a couple of days ago, last Sunday, that yes, there is no way probably to fully ensure that there is no rise in the prices of the essentials, primarily because the transportation cost has increased, the labor cost has increased. So this is something probably we have to live with for now.
I think, as you have rightly pointed out, the problem has originated because the supply chain has got disrupted at many levels, and unless we can repair the supply chain hastily, I think we are only bound to see prices soaring up even more in the coming days. Yesterday, I think if you remember, the Chief Secretary has given an account of the stock of essential commodities which are available, and in case of many of the commodities we had stock only for about a week, and in the case of some other commodities we had stock of supplies that would not go beyond a month. So in that case, I think the supply end of the commodity chain becomes so scarce, automatically the prices would rise, which is a basic law of economics. So I think it would do well to mend the supply chain, to also preclude any form of speculation that essentially crops up at such times of crisis. And I think the state would do well to monitor that the flow of goods across the state progresses in an unimpeded manner.
Absolutely. Sriparna Barua, again, same question to you. How challenging do you think are these times, especially for entrepreneurs, startups, traders? See, we are all talking about migrant laborers, daily wage earners. Without doubt, they're facing a lot of problems. But there are a host of other businesses which, again, employ a large number of people. They provide employment. So how difficult is it for them? Because if they suffer, the employees suffer.
Major challenges which we are having at the moment are in terms of, this pandemic which has come in is posing a huge challenge to a lot of entrepreneurs and startups that we are all aware of. In fact, it is cutting across all sectors. And while for larger companies there is time to wait, there is time, they have some funds which can sustain them for some time. It's most often it happens that for the startups, for the entrepreneurs, they are not cash rich. So some dues, the fixed costs are something which they have to bear with. Like, for example, even paying salaries is one of the biggest challenge. Then all the statutory dues which they have to pay, those are major challenges. Talking about PF, GST, advanced tax, electricity, then the EMIs which are there. Those are some of the biggest challenges. And if you look at Northeast, you find number one that which are the sectors which normally do well in Northeast. I mean, which are the sectors which are mostly we find entrepreneurs from which are the sectors we find entrepreneurs here. Here we find mostly entrepreneurs are there in the tourism sector. We find people in the craft and handloom sector. We find people in the agri-business sector. Now, in all these sectors have been very badly affected. Particularly, if I first talk about tourism, tourism is a sector which has been challenged since December 2019. Tourism, starting with the
With the anti-car.
Citizenship Amendment Act, then we had problems in Meghalaya, Shillong, which was again curbing, and Assam has always been the gateway to Northeast. So these are challenges which tourism sector, in fact, could never take off at all. So that has been one of the biggest challenge. And as far as overall all sectors are concerned, I would say that it is primarily even sustaining, paying salary itself and catering to the statutory obligations are a biggest challenge. Uh, of course, the government has given some relief in terms of saying that moratorium on interest, etc. But then I don't think in 3 months' time
So,
it's enough for any. There has to be a
so,
special
so,
package for
so the
small
immediate
scale
fallout,
entrepreneurs and the
the
startups.
immediate fallout will be especially for the employees, if not so much for the owners, because small firms, startups would not probably have the resources to pay these staff, and this definitely will result in big job losses.
Exactly. Bigger things can somehow retain, but it is for the startups which is the biggest problem because I have come across so many people have been calling me up from the various sectors. Entrepreneurs have been calling me up from various sectors, and what they are saying is that we have no option. We would love to keep the employees, but we've told them that you can leave us. Maybe you don't have to work for us. But the saddest part is that they continue working because they know tomorrow there will be no job for them anywhere else. Now, this has been a pain not only for the people who are sticking to the jobs because thinking that an unemployment which would be really rampant post COVID, that at least holding on to something if this particular startup or this enterprise starts kicking back, then at least I have a job to hold on to. And so they are ready to take salary cuts. Some of them are not paying salary. In spite of that, people are working. So that is something which is happening everywhere.
Absolutely. Rupam Goswami, again, do you think under the circumstances, as you mentioned, there are challenges in transportation in a way. So do you think under the circumstances, since Assam is a consuming state, Assam is also a consuming state, a lot of essential items come from outside. Do you think price rise in a way is inevitable, something that we have to live with until things improve? I'm asking you the same question. Wanted to know it from the chairman of the Assam Chamber of Commerce.
Maybe it depends on the what is the actually. I don't think so. Right now we'll face that because the crops have already come out and already the things are available in India. So, and railway is operating in a very good systematic manner. So, right now, for that reasons, Assam or the Northeast will not face any problem. But maybe for the next year, if the now the agriculture, if the farmers cannot give importance to the agriculture, or if they cannot do good agriculture now in the second crop, then maybe in the next coming year, maybe Assam or the Northeast may have to face something because of the shortage of food grains during that time, as we
And
are importing states.
and what contingency plan do you have in place in case the situation lingers? We may assume that the lockdown will end on May 3rd, but again, all that depends on the numbers. So what will happen? We don't know. So what contingency plan do you have in place to face any unforeseen circumstances?
And like even the government and also the business community and our Assam Chamber of Commerce, all the Chamber of Commerce, they are well prepared with the challenges which are supposed to come. And I don't think so there will be any problem for the people or the public as a whole for maybe for next 3 months or 4 months.
Well, Sriparna Barua, it's not that people are not trying. We also have many initiatives. surfacing. We have many initiatives being taken by startups where people are trying to reach out to consumers online, promising delivery of essentials. People have been trying to do several things, but it's not really picking up, as we can see from the numerous complaints of consumers, be it Meghalaya, be it Assam. Why do you think is this happening? Why is it not clicking? Obviously, there are challenges, we understand.
Yeah, I think this is a very pertinent question. Here what is happening, there are cities like, for example, Bangalore and larger metros where this is not a problem, whereas these delivery and other issues of startups coming in with apps, etc., coming to the households and delivering, that is a challenge here more in Northeast rather than the bigger metros. The reason what I feel is because here the startup ecosystem has actually not evolved. Whereas you find in, suppose I look at Bangalore, here you'll find there's been a lot of cross collaboration between the startups. The startups are more mature there than it is because here Northeast the startup ecosystem has just started to just evolved. So we don't have established players. For example, if I give the example of Bangalore, you will find Bangalore or any other metro for that matter. There are entities like Big Basket, Big Bazaar, Spencer's, etc., where you have a lot of cross collaboration because Rapido is there strongly, but they have automatically start collaborating and they are delivering. Here, because possibly what I see is that because the startups are not so evolved, that is why that is not happening. But I think some have started, and then experimentation is new, possibly because
Yeah,
there
but
were not
again,
established enterprises already there.
at
That
a
is a
time
challenge
when
because
trade at a time when trade and commerce is clearly taking a hit, do you think the concerned stakeholders, be it the government or private entities, are being able to prepare contingency plans, or it's all very sketchy and uncertain as of now? What do you think?
I think the way forward is really uncertain. I really feel very uncertain. I think we need to look at sector specific interventions, bailout packages for different sectors. Because there are certain sectors for which, of course, some people are talking about the agri sector, etc. What about happens to the handloom sector? If we look at the overall, the nationally, the survey which has the apparel and the handloom sector shows there's going to be a decline in that sector. What happens to our artisans here? So no one is actually looking at. So there has to be sector specific bailout packages. Look at sector specific problems which are happening. For example, if we look at the number of weavers which are there in the textile sector, can they get into more on, supporting making PPE equipments? What else can come in? Can they more go into the health sector in terms of even making dresses, etc., for nurses, be using cotton? Some options, there has to be a out of box thinking even on every aspect. Then you even look at the beauty sector, for example, beauty and wellness sector. Now that is another sector which is really taking a big hit. For example, if you look at here, most of the women here are involved in the beauty and not only here, everywhere in the beauty and wellness sector. In Assam itself, there are about 25,000 beauty parlors. Now, what happens to them? No one is talking about them. Every beauty parlor has about at least an average of 4 employees. And then the beauty and wellness as a sector, there's so many trained professionals, about a lack of trained professionals. What
Big
happens to them?
problems. Yes,
They're
lot
not
of
getting
challenges.
salary, and
Abhinav,
even they will not.
Abhinav Borbora, clearly it's a grim situation. Probably, see, the government, the government and the think tanks are doing all they can, but probably as individuals, as business entities, as workers, as employees, probably the only way out, at least temporary, is to coordinate and cooperate with each other and be patient and try and see how we can get out of this situation.
I think you are right. And since we are talking about the economy, and since my fellow panelist has elaborated the situation in the service sector, I would also like to point out to the manufacturing sector, and through it, I would just like to provide an indication of the depth of the crisis where we find ourselves. You'll have to understand that the economy, even before the crisis, was not in a very good shape, and the banks were already reeling under NPAs. So now now any form of recovery would have to begin by stimulating demand. But in a situation where the banks are already burdened with NPS, they would inevitably be averse to lending. At the same time, if you'd see the manufacturing sector, in order to have more investments into that sector, you'd first have to have consumption. But with the lockdown and with per capita income falling drastically, you cannot have a consumption of the existing stock. And without a consumption of the existing stock, it's impossible to expect that there will be fresher investment in the manufacturing sector. So if you see, the crisis is very circuitous, it is multidimensional, and like you have said, although all different players, private and public, and the state would have to work in tandem, but I think the state has a very serious responsibility of proactively intervening to stimulate demand, and in the process repair the economy and mend the disruptions that have cropped up in the economic sector.
Come to the aid of everyone. Rupam Goswami, also what we are witnessing now in parts of Assam is that farmers are unable to send their produce to the market, even though there is in a way short supply of fresh produce due to the lockdown, and despite vegetables being delivered in town, city areas to pick up vans, etc. Farmers are not able to find a market for their produce, due to which it is getting wasted. So how long will it take to address this kind of a situation? Because it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, this is really a challenge because now there is no inter-district transportation. So that is the reason whatever is the produce of that particular state, I mean to say district, and that district has to consume it. So that is a big challenge, and district cannot consume. So my appeal to the government is that government now has to buy whatever the farmer produces. Government has to buy all of this except some perishable goods which government cannot take a load, but government has to buy from the farmers to roll the economy. That is very, very important. Government has to buy from the farmers, and government has to channelize.
Government has to buy and channelize.
Not required in our state also.
Okay, government has to buy and channelize. Sriparna Varua, my last question to you. Every challenge, it is said, comes with a window of opportunity. Well, that's a bit of philosophy, but can we assume that even this challenge comes with an opportunity for those who are willing to take up the challenge, innovate enough to rise up to the occasion?
Yes, surely. There's always some, silver lining, and whenever the clouds are dark. So here, what opportunity that I see is that a lot of opportunities can come up in the healthcare sector. Anything which is trying to solve problems at the grassroots level will have opportunities. Be it in the agri sector, be it in the health sector, there would be a lot of opportunities at the grassroots. So it's time, instead of aping what some other startups are doing in the West, it will be a lot of opportunities will come up based on local resources. And since we are talking about migrants, etc., people who are working outside, coming back to the own state, I'm sure, that's my feeling, at least 60% of the people will not go back. So when they don't go back, they will start looking for opportunities here. There will be no jobs. So the only opportunity would be look at local resources, look at local skills, and start building your enterprise based on what is locally available. So I think those opportunities those doors are definitely going to open up. And I'm sure everyone, the government, etc., will look out for bailout packages. So if one starts thinking innovatively, uses technology, tries to solve problems at the grassroots.
Absolutely. It has to be a coordinated effort, and well, we have no option but to fight and stand united. Thank you so much, Sriparna Barua, Rupam Goswami, Avinav Borbora, for joining me on Bottom Line. That's a wrap.